So this is my sabbatical recap. First of all, I want to thank you guys and Just Legacy for sending Lisa and I on this, this time off. We had a great time. It was long, and it was good to kind of get back. I went straight from camp to family camp with the Winds and the Liquors. And then after that, my best friend in the world had been to the family camp as well, and he and another family that we know really well decided to go off to Ouray, Colorado, and it was about us, the three families. There's 14 of us total, and 8 of us were kids, all under the age of about 6. So it was kind of crazy. We ended up going to this hot spring in Ouray, and it was fun. It was a great time. I think the kids had a good time. Ouray is a beautiful place. The mountains are right on top of you, and it just reminds. I remember thinking to myself how present God felt in the midst of that place, because you've got these monstrous pieces of creation kind of sort of almost around you, sort of an imposing nature upon you. It made me recognize the presence of God at every moment. That was a fun time in Ouray, and then after Ouray we went to Lake City, and we stayed at a pastor retreat called Inn at the Lake. And the first day that we were there, me and my friends, the guys, we went and climbed Mount Handes, which is a 14er there, and honestly, it was an interesting experience. It was one of the hardest things I'd ever done, because I realized that it's climbing mountains. It's really not part of my, I guess athletically have ever been involved in. It's not anything I've been trained for. It's not anything I've ever really wanted to do. Just been desiring to do. But it was a great time to get up to the top and summit and be able to look out over that mountain range and see just how gorgeous that was. But it was just interesting. I think we're talking about climbing Mount Rainier, and I'm thinking second thoughts about it, because I think I was really bored on the way up. It's such an isolated experience. It's just kind of you and the mountain, and these guys are walking by you, and you don't feel like you're really connected to them. And so I think I may stick to some more team sports. But anyway, we climbed the mountain, and it was exhausting, and we came back, and a couple of kids were sick. So the next 2 days for us was just throwing up everywhere. It was the 4th of July, so we went to the parade, and he was able to kind of look at the parade, but then all the activities that happened. One of the reasons we came there was all the activities that they do for kids throughout the day, and he was so sick that we couldn't do it. So we went back to the inn and hung out there, and it rained, and it was pretty miserable, honestly. After Lake City, we were supposed to go to Boulder. But because Deuce was sick, we didn't want to go. We were going to stay with the McMurtry's, but we didn't want Story McMurtry to get sick. So instead, we were able to, by grace of God, get into Steamboat Springs a couple of days earlier than we had anticipated. So we went up there. A friend of ours has a condo in Steamboat, and our friend happened to be staying up there at the same time. So we went up to Steamboat and stayed in this beautiful place, and spent a day with our friends up there, riding bikes through the town and through the mountains, and the boys were riding in the back of the bikes, and we went to a skate park and an art fair, and that was a really great time. And ended up having dinner with them that night, and that was a good time to be able to talk to them. And then the next day we went out by ourselves and walked around a little bit, and went out down to the streams and played at the park. And then that night I took a really long walk. I left just to kind of take a walk. We were right on the mountain. I was just going to take a walk up the mountain, and just kind of got out there and just started praying and thinking. And Lisa told me not to hurry back, so I stayed out walking into the night, about 3.5, 4 hours of walking, and it was exhausting. Going from climbing the mountain to climbing more mountains, and my feet were killing me. But Steamboat was a great experience. It was probably the best experience we had as a family, because we were just kind of by ourselves. We didn't have anybody else with us, and we were able to just do some fun things. The weather was perfect. Deuce and I swam in one of the streams, and it was freezing cold, but we still had a good time doing it. And as we were making our way back, we were going to stop in Boulder, and on the way through Boulder, we decided to drive through Estes Park, which is a gorgeous drive. And then on the drive, Solomon started throwing up, and so we just thought, okay, well, I guess we can't go to Boulder. We had decided we were just going to kind of drive through, but We just really felt that we needed to stop and see the McMurtrys and the Stones, and so we, instead of staying with the McMurtrys, we actually stayed with Matt and Heather and the Stones, and so that worked out real well. It was nice to be able to spend time with Matt and Heather and just kind of hear the things that were going on in their ministry and how God was changing some things in Matt's life. And I think we really got to minister to them, and they ministered to us in the midst of it as well. And Chris and I and Matt got to get away and have some really good talks, and so it was nice. I think it was good for the kids to be there too and see where they lived and get a part of their world. The next day we stayed there. I guess we stayed there a day and a half. We thought we would just drive to Lubbock. We would leave there and just drive to Lubbock. So we left a little later in the morning. But, man, once I got on the road, we'd been gone at that point almost 4 weeks. Or actually 3 weeks because we had family camp in the weeks. But we've been gone from home for 3 weeks. And I was ready to get back. So literally just left Boulder and drove straight to Dallas. It took us about 17 hours. But I just had to get back. I just was ready to go. After that, we came back and worked. At least needed to work a little bit, and I had the Pine Cove Zumbathon, and so we worked a little bit during the sabbatical. But then a couple of days later, we got on a plane headed to Italy. Spent a couple of days in Rome, and Rome was an interesting experience. It was it's like a New York City, it's just a buzzing city, but with more historical landmarks. And I think I was struck by the fact that everything was so old. That we were literally at times when we were walking through the Forum and other places, we were walking on bricks that were 2,000 years old, and I was really struck by that. And I think one of the other things was sort of the irony of Rome. You have these historical landmarks like the Colosseum, and you can see, if you've ever seen the Colosseum, it's sort of dilapidated. It's kind of being looks like it's been torn down by some catastrophic event, but really it's just. At one point in Rome, they just started taking the Colosseum apart to build other parts of Rome. And I thought how ironic that was. I mean, one man's history is another man's trash, I guess. And it was also ironic that they were sacrificing Christians there now. The Colosseum now is an official worship center. They do Easter worship services there, and I thought that was strange and interesting. The other ironic thing is the Vatican. I mean, this place where it's located is actually where Nero's palace used to be, and Nero was notorious for having human torches, Christian torches, where he'd light Christians on fire to light his garden while he was entertaining. We're in the Vatican is where that is, and the Vatican is kind of ironic too. I mean, we've got this Savior who is not really flashy and not really kind of out there in front, and the Vatican is very, very flashy. Lots of amazing buildings and gold and art, and the art was amazing. But the thing I think was most interesting about the Vatican is up in on the dome of St. Peter's Basilica. It talks about the church needing to be a single, united church. That's what a tour guide told us, and and I asked him. I said, "You mean that the church, the Catholic Church, needs to be a single, united church?" He goes, "No, it means that all the church needs to come together and be united." And so, for a guy like me who's real big on church unity, it was a big plus for a long day at the Vatican. So we did that for 2 days, and then we drove up to a little town called Poppi, and it's where Tuscany is, and this is the culinary vacation place that we stayed. It was a gorgeous place that had a big villa. 2 families were there. The other family was much like ours. Lisa's mom took us and the other kids, Lisa's brother and sister, on a trip, paid for the whole thing. And the family that was there at Tuscany did the same. There was a mother and father who were basically paying for all their kids and their wives and significant others to come. And so about 10 of the 13 people there were all under the age of 34. Lisa was the oldest one, and then it went all the way down to 18. So it was a good time. It was a good group of folks, and they learned quickly I was in the ministry, and so asked me to pray for meals. And then the cooking staff, after a while, would come out and they would want to be a part of our prayers, and that really touched them. The main cook said how touching it was to see people praying. She had never seen that happen there before. During the conversations, I found out that many of the folks there of that family were either agnostics or atheists, and so I think I said this in my message. I just knew I was going to have to talk to them at some point, and I kind of hemmed and hawed around it for most of the week. And the last night, I was able to sit down and have discussion with them about the existence of God and the issues of homosexuality and all kinds of different things. And it was a really good conversation. It was literally an attack. I mean, there were people cussing at me and calling me names, but I really love those conversations. I think it makes me grow, and just who I am, and how I can communicate the Word of God, and the truth to people in a way that hopefully they'll hear. And so one of the biggest compliments I got from that time was one of the guys going, I really believe you're like no other Christian I've ever met before. And so that was good to hear, I think. But so spent that time in Rome, and that time at Tuscany. Great experience being in Italy. It was exhausting. I think all in all for the sabbatical, I think it was a great time with family. Being with the kids the first couple of weeks was interesting. It's more like I don't know. It's more like a relocation than a vacation, because you're just kind of taking all the stuff and going all different places with it. And kids have a lot of stuff. So the second part was in Italy. It was nice to be with the family. I hadn't spent that extended time with Lisa's family before, and I mean it posed its challenges, no doubt. But at the same time, it was good. I think we all grew a little closer in that. I wish that I had planned a few more opportunities for me to kind of get alone and be quiet. I did get to do a little of that. Like I said, the walk I took in Steamboat, and then one of the days at Tuscany, the family wanted to go sightsee, and I went ahead and let them go. And I stayed and stuck around at the resorts and kind of sat by the pool and read and slept in a hammock for a couple of hours and took a mountain biking ride where I ran into some wild boar on the road, which was terrifying. And I think one of the best things that was sort of an accomplishment for me for the whole trip is I have been for the last couple of months copying the book of Romans into this book right here, which is backwards for you. But it's a book where you can ultimately copy. On one side, you can write the book over here, and then you put your notes over here. So I was able to, when we were in Rome, I was able to finish copying the book of Romans, which was really cool. So this book is supposed to be for your children. So you copy the book of the Bible, and then you write your notes to it and maybe words to them to give to them, when they're older, or I guess after you die. So all in all, it was a great sabbatical. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, I wish I would have taken a little bit more time to breathe, but I was really excited and very appreciative to kind of get out, see another part of the world, and just be in the beauty of God's creation, whether it was in the mountains of Colorado or the mountains of Italy. It was fantastic. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions or any thoughts about that, feel free to give me a shout. God bless.